Hi guys, it's Smiles here again. Last night, just after I posted the Elite Cards video, Wizards went ahead and posted an article including a bunch of new cards and some better artwork for the cards that I'd already reviewed. So I thought I'd use this opportunity to go over the new cards they've announced and also go into a bit more detail about the thoughts I had about the leaked cards. So these are the new cards that have been printed for the first time in Amonkhet, and these are the cards from Amonkhet that are going to be included in the new player welcome decks. Now, if you're not familiar with those decks already, if you're new to the game and haven't got a deck, you can go to a Magic retailer and most of them are stocked with welcome decks. So they're decks they give out to new players and they're just 30 card decks, which is half the normal size of a deck. So with a couple of these decks, you and a friend can learn to play the game and it will teach you the very basic rules of Magic and prepare you for getting a new deck. And a good suggestion would be to pick up Planeswalker decks, which are kind of like the next step up from a welcome deck. So I want to use this opportunity to have a quick chat about Liliana and Gideon, the new Planeswalkers printed for the Planeswalker decks. So yesterday when I was talking about these cards, I was talking about how well they're going to perform in Standard. But in reality it's pretty much irrelevant. These cards are designed to help teach new players how to play the game. So if you and a friend are just starting out, go and pick up a Planeswalker deck each, preferably one of each, and then play some games, swap the decks around, play some more. You'll get to grips with the rules really quickly, and this deck's going to be a good entry point for Standard. You can turn up and play at F&M over the weeks, make some card changes, some upgrades, and I guarantee once you know the rules a bit better, you'll be itching to build your own deck. So let's get back to these welcome deck cards. So for the most part, these are just vanilla creatures with some very simple mechanics. Again, it's designed to help you learn the rules of the game. I think actually one of the cards in here which has piqued my attention is Sixth Sense. If we see some more powerful aura cards like this in Amonkhet, there might be room for an actual aura based deck. You know, Saram is in Standard right now, he draws you cards when you play auras, so there's definitely potential there. Angler Drake's going to be great for new players, it's going to give them a cheap, easily accessible top end for their deck. Similar situation with these next 6 cards, they're all going to be included in the welcome decks, but the great thing about these is these are reprints, and I know for a fact at least one of them, Fling, is dear to a lot of Magic players' hearts. I had a lot of fun using Fling last time it was legal in Standard, and the great thing is the Standard environment right now has a bunch of creatures that are great for sacrificing to Fling. There's been a lot of talk about Ravenous Intruder pumping it up, dealing damage, and then flinging it. There's been a lot of talk online about Wandering Fumarole and Crackdown Construct. You can fling a 1000 Crackdown Construct at your opponent's face. Metalwork Colossus, which is great, you can cast it potentially for free, fling it at your opponent, get it back from the graveyard, cast it for free again. There's Electrostatic Pummeler, you can just pump it, double up, make it a 20/20 and fling it. My favourite of all is Thing in the Ice. I think the limited amount of time we have where it's in Standard, I think there's definitely room for a blue-red spells deck with Thing in the Ice. Next I want to talk about the new keyword, Embalm. So Wizards of the Coast haven't actually given us the reminder text for this yet. However, based on what they've told us so far, I'm almost certain it will be worded this way, which is exile this card from your graveyard, put a token onto the battlefield that is a copy of this creature. It is a zombie in addition to its other types. Play this ability only anytime you can cast a sorcery. This is for all intents and purposes flashback for creatures. And I think they've actually given themselves a lot of room to make some very cool cards. Ones that are really flavourful but at the same time very interesting from a rules perspective. I can see them printing a human that gives all zombies +1/+1, and then when it returns from the graveyard with Embalm, it is a zombie itself and it gets bigger. That could be quite cool. I could see a haste creature with Embalm being very good, kind of like another Hellspark Elemental. So there's actually a lot of potential here for them to print cards that will be modern and legacy playable. So the next card to talk about is Glorybringer, which has a new mechanic on it, which is Exert. It should read something along the lines of, tap this permanent, it does not untap during its controller's next untap step. This particular creature can exert when it attacks to deal 4 damage to target non-dragon creature, but that isn't to say that the exert keyword will only be involved in attacks. You know, I actually imagine they might print a mana dork that can tap to make 1 mana, but then can exert to make 2, that would be very cool, but potentially overpowered. You might even have some cards that exert your opponent's creatures, and I'm almost certain we'll see a card that kills an exerted creature. I wanted to talk a little bit more about Archfiend of Ifnir. Again, the return of cycling can be very big things. I think potentially we might even see cycle lands in this set. I think Mark Rosewater had hinted at one point that they were due in the near future. I just wanted to talk about a few cards that I think synergise quite well with this. So we've got Grim Flayer. Grim Flayer gets +2/+2 when it has Delirium, which is great because, you know, if all you're missing in the graveyard is a creature, you can cycle this at instant speed to pump the Grim Flayer when your opponent's not expecting it. Grapple with the Past, which can be used to return Archfiend. So early game you can cycle the Archfiend, and later on in the game when you want to cast it, you can return it to your hand. And also Demon of Dark Schemes, which I mentioned before. If you're building a deck around it, Archfiend can be cycled in the early game to help you get to where you want to be. Then when you're in a good position, you cast Demon of Dark Schemes, and then Archfiend is sitting there in the graveyard ready to be reanimated. This next card's probably my favourite spoiler so far, which is Oracle's Vault. A lot of people are talking about how we're going to get more brick counters onto Oracle's Vault as fast as possible. I'm not really concerned with that personally, but these are a few cards I've found that are going to help us get there. They will require that Oracle's Vault gets a brick counter naturally first, but Skyship Plunderer will put another one on there when it does damage to the opponent. Maulfist Revolutionary will put one on there when it dies. Winding Constrictor will put an additional one on there anytime it already gets one, and then Animation Module can just pay 3 tap and add another counter to it. What I want to focus on is what cards just work well with the effect on Oracle's Vault. First of all, this combos really well with Paradox Engine. You can even cast a Paradox Engine with the Oracle's Vault, and then once it's down, cast another spell, which will untap the Oracle's Vault, and you can go infinite. This is only possible if the cards in your deck allow you to do that. If you fill your deck with removal and counter spells, this isn't going to work very well because a lot of the time when you flip them from the top of your library, they're not going to be able to find a target, you can't cast them, so you don't trigger Paradox Engine, and you don't untap Oracle's Vault, and you combo fizzles. My answer to this, first of all, is using Planeswalkers. We have about 22 Planeswalkers in Standard right now, that's not including any ones that are going to be printed in Amonkhet, and a lot of them work very well with this combo anyway. What you want to be doing with Oracle's Vault is filtering the top of your deck, drawing more cards, and making more mana. And all of the cards here do one of those things in one way or another. The beauty is you could pull this combo off, get 10 Planeswalkers down, and then just use all of their abilities and absolutely destroy your opponent's board. The deck's going to need a lot of Planeswalkers, and we need a way to get to the point where we can start casting them, because a lot of the time you're not going to hit Oracle's Vault or you're not going to hit Paradox Engine. But we still can't jam the deck full of counterspells and removal because of what I discussed before. But believe it or not, the Oath cards are perfect for this deck. First of all, if you hit them with Oracle's Vault, you can cast them regardless of a target for the ability. So you cast them, even if the ability fizzles, it doesn't matter. You cast it, and what that means is then you get to untap your Oracle's Vault and go again. But along the way, the Oath cards are going to help you get to where you want to be. They're going to make your Planeswalkers come out earlier, make your Planeswalkers come out bigger, kill your opponent's creatures, draw you more cards, everything. I have high hopes for an Oracle's Vault Paradox Engine Super Friends deck in Standard. Another thing to mention is these cool little token cards that Wizards are printing now. So the token slot in some of the booster packs is going to have a card that you rip up to get little Embalmed, Exerted, -1/-1, or Brick tokens. I think this is especially useful for new players. It's going to help them keep a track of what's going on in their games. That's everything I've got to say about the new Amonkhet spoilers for now. If you enjoyed the video, give it the thumbs up. If you want to see some more, subscribe. Comment below on the sort of thing you'd like to see in future. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.